Okay, welcome. My name is Will Moss. I am the CEO of HBCU CONNECT. And this evening or this afternoon, depending on where you're logged in from, we are presenting opportunities with Kroger. So Kroger has put together a star-studded team of folks that represent the business that are going to speak to you today. They're going to introduce themselves. You're going to learn more about the team. You're going to learn more about the opportunities. And a big thanks to the Kroger team for setting aside the time, especially after hours, to meet with us and the great candidates with HBCU CONNECT. To our candidates, welcome. Let's go ahead and get started. So what I like to do at our events is give you a little bit of context. Who am I? If this is your first time coming to one of our events, my name is Will Moss. Again, I'm the CEO of HBCU CONNECT. We've hosted lots of events like this in the past, not only virtually, but also in person. But once COVID-19 hit, we went from hosting most of our events in different locations all around the country as in-person networking events, pivoting over to virtual. Kudos to a lot of our partners for continuing to recruit diverse talent with us, but we pivoted to go online with these events. So this is another opportunity for you to meet the team at Kroger, to learn more about Kroger, the opportunities at Kroger. And actually, this is not the only way to connect, because actually we've had a relationship with Kroger for the past few years now, and their opportunities are actually live on our website as well. So you can apply online, but this is a unique opportunity for you to meet the team, to hear from the team, to learn about the opportunities, and to engage and ask questions to set you up for an awesome opportunity in your future with your career path. Now, before I get too far along, I've talked about the opportunity for you. We want folks to get interviews and hired from this event, but I am actually a Kroger alum. My first job in high school was at Kroger, right? So I used to walk to work every day. I have fond memories because what I remember from Kroger is I had a good attitude about my work, and I worked hard, and I was rewarded for it. I went from cleaning the floors to bagging the groceries to getting the carts to being promoted to the cashier, and then I went off to college. But I had a great experience at Kroger. Always, the way I was treated was great. So it's great when things come full circle and we have this opportunity to present Kroger, the team, and the opportunities to you tonight. So without further ado, let's jump into the agenda. So this is what we're going to cover during the event, so you all have the context for the event. So first, we're going to have a company overview from Joshua Grace. We're going to talk about industry and market services, early talent focus and needs, career pathing options within Kroger, diversity, equity, and inclusion at Kroger. We're going to meet the team and have panel introductions, so you have context on who you're speaking to and who you can ask questions to. Then we're going to jump into that panel discussion. So I have some questions prepared to ask the panelists, but then I want you all to help me to get whatever questions you have, and you can drop those in the chat, and then I'll ask those questions to our panelists as well, with the help from my co-host, Joshua Grace. Then after that, we'll have questions and closing remarks and talk about those next steps for landing a career at Kroger. So without further ado, let me introduce Joshua Grace, HR University Relations Liaison. So Joshua, if you're ready.
Absolutely. So good evening, everyone. Happy Friday Eve. It is an absolute pleasure to really be here this evening with you all to really share a lot of useful and helpful content to you all. I'm thinking back about 16 years when I was graduating college and thinking about the mindset that I had and just some of the information that I did not know. So today's big picture goal, obviously, to give you some great content, but to really educate you all and give you some nuggets that you can use now and moving forward to really propel your professional career. As Will did mention, my name is Joshua Grace. I am representing the Kroger Company. I'm here in the beautiful city of Cincinnati, Ohio. If you're from the state of North Carolina, Cincinnati is the real Queen City. I know there's kind of like a misnomer out there with Charlotte, great city in Charlotte, but the real original Queen City is Cincinnati. So I just wanted to preface this meeting with that. But all jokes aside, I serve as one of our HR University relations leaders for the organization. In my current role, I do a great deal, but specifically speaking, my job is really to help the company bridge the gap with early talent. So that includes obviously internships, hourly roles, and entry-level roles. So I'm on the HR talent acquisition team, and we do a lot with all 22 of our Kroger divisions and really recruiting early talent and building very predictable talent pipelines to benefit the business. And when I say business, it's really all areas of the business. So I've been with Kroger about 10 years now, 15 years total within the retail and professional environment. True to the theme, as you can see, I'm a proud HBCU alum myself. The Kentucky State University, located in the heart and capital of Kentucky, which is Frankfort, Kentucky, about 45 minutes east of Louisville. And then obviously, I think this goes without saying, but I am a proud member of the greatest fraternity known to man, founded January 5th, 1911. So just a little bit about myself. So as we transition to the next slide, I'll kind of go over just really a high level overview of the company. So if you're from the Midwest or you're from the Atlanta market or some of our southern states, even Texas, you're probably very familiar with Kroger, the name, but most people forget or maybe not even know that we as an organization, we own several subsidiaries. So when Kroger grows and expands, we don't necessarily change the names of the grocery stores. We just acquire them and we allow them to keep their name. So for example, if you're in North Carolina, in Charlotte or Greensboro or Raleigh or Durham, Wake Forest, you're probably familiar with Harris Teeter. So Kroger acquired Harris Teeter back in 2011. If you're from out west and you're from California, you've probably seen one of our Food for Less stores or even one of our Ralph's or Fred Meyer's. So a very, very large net that we've cast across the country. But the Kroger Company, or simply Kroger, is an American retail company that operates supermarkets and multi-department stores throughout the United States. So in addition to the trademark name Kroger, as I just mentioned, we also own and operate under several subsidiaries. So the company was founded by Bernard Kroger in 1883. So the company is literally 140 years old. Founded right here in the heart of Cincinnati, Ohio. Kroger operates just shy of 3,000 grocery retail stores in 35 states in the District of Columbia. The Kroger company structure consists of multi-department, marketplace, and combo stores, fulfillment centers, manufacturing plants, little clinic medical facilities, and jewelry stores as well. The company ranks top 20 Fortune 500 companies and generated over 140 billion in revenue during the fiscal year of 2022. How does early talent attraction look at Kroger? So great question, looks very diverse, right? So at Kroger, early talent attraction process has several different approaches and overall concentrations. So the company provides internship opportunities for all 22 retail divisions, along with over 20 primary lines of businesses. A few of the areas of business include human resources, accounting, finance, real estate, marketing, facilities engineering, technology and digital, retail, operations, and enterprise sourcing, just to name a few. So yes, you can come to Kroger and become a CPA, or you can come to the organization as a CPA and find a great career in accounting. You can come to the organization with a background in real estate and also have career opportunities for you. So I know a lot of people see our brick and mortar stores. Obviously, we have to pay the bills and keep the lights on. So we sell a lot of groceries, but there is a business behind the business, if that makes sense. We offer 3 very robust and engaging internship rotations throughout the calendar year. All retail rotations are full 12 weeks in length, with our summer rotation being the largest. So most of our summer interns are here in Cincinnati, but some are also virtual and some are throughout our divisions as well. So we've been very intentional over the years and obviously post COVID-19 and really accommodating our talent. So some talent is perfectly fine with a hybrid or completely remote option, and we do offer those for our interns. So just a note to have. All interns are paid with some company benefits, including our great company in-store discount. In 2022, Kroger welcomed 530 interns in our retail division and many corporate lines of businesses. So keep in mind, most companies will have internship rotations, but one thing we do here at Kroger, we make it to where all of our interns have a very, very hands-on proactive approach to the internship. So we're not a company that will sit you in the corner and ask you to make 1,000 copies a day for your senior VP. We actually put you on projects that help move the needle for the business. So if anyone's ever used our pickup service, or anyone's ever utilized the app that Kroger has, we have interns that have actually helped to develop or contribute a great deal to the actual application. So when I say we really trust our interns, we really develop and grow our interns, I truly mean that, because if I didn't, obviously I wouldn't say it, but I think our interns would tell you firsthand that they feel very involved with the business. Kroger career pathing. I think this is probably the $1 million question, or even the $500,000 slide. So Kroger career pathing is very robust. It's grown leaps and bounds over the years, but career pathing at Kroger is very diverse in nature, right? So the company offers careers in over 20 major lines of businesses, as I've mentioned. The various lines of businesses, they start but don't end in one place. And what I mean by that is we see a lot of people who come into our store retail environments as assistant store leaders. They may get promoted onto store leaders, and they may transition to our divisions and become HR leaders, or become retail op leaders, or become e-commerce leaders. So there's a lot of options throughout. And what we also see is we have a lot of associates who will start and gain great experience on the retail side of business, and they'll transition over to corporate. So just a neat little fact that I always tell students and professors alike when I'm on campus or traveling down in our divisions, our CEO is Rodney McMullen. Rodney is a native of Kentucky. He is a graduate of the University of Kentucky. The average person doesn't know our current CEO, and he's been enrolled for several years now. He actually started as a grocery clerk. So Rodney started right there in the stores, as many of us have, and he's worked his way up, obviously, over the years to becoming the CEO of the organization. So just to provide some good context here, I think it's important to call that out as well. So careers, as I mentioned, they can start in one place and take you much, much further. I think a cliche, or I should say really a staple on the Kroger end is truly come for a job and stay for a career. So we pride ourselves on really giving a lot of different opportunities to associates to progress their careers, their skill sets, and their overall knowledge of the business. So each role, again, provides the opportunity to gain valuable skill sets, mentoring, certifications, exposures, and career growth. All right, and this here is more so just an example. I know I've mentioned a few different areas of the business. This is what we call one of our career pathing sheets. So this kind of gives you a really good visual of how you can come in, and this is more so retail, but you can come in as a clerk. You can work your way through a clerk. You can work your way up through management. And ultimately, a lot of our, if not all of our roles, have a hierarchy where you'll have a vice president, a group vice president, and or an executive vice president. So the career options are truly endless. We welcome all backgrounds, all levels of talent, and we pride ourselves on being very, very diverse in our approach, but also diverse in our candidates and those individuals that we're bringing onto the organization, because we understand true inclusion is making sure that we have all the information, all the ideas, all the experiences from a multitude of places. So we definitely take great pride in that. So with that said, we'll kind of transition on to the next slide. Absolutely. Kind of a great segue. I just touched a little bit on diversity, equity, and inclusion. But when I say that we're really living out the DE&I aspect of the business, Kroger takes great pride in diversity, equity, and inclusion within the organization. As a company, Kroger is dedicated to providing initiatives, efforts, and programs to further highlight the organization's commitment. Kroger associates have the opportunity to join over 100 associate resource groups, ARGs for short, for additional support and inclusion. Today, Kroger has established recruiting partnerships with 23 HBCUs across the country, including the Kentucky State University. In addition, scholarships and funding have been provided to Lamar Owing down in Memphis, Tennessee, and Tennessee State University down in Nashville, Tennessee. Along with the scholarship donations, Kroger gives to the Thurgood Marshall College Fund. These specific funds assist minorities pursuing higher education. Notable company-led projects with historically Black colleges and universities include, but not limited to, but this past spring, we had the opportunity to partner with Jackson State University, Savannah State University, and Morris Brown College down in Atlanta, Georgia. I actually led those projects, so I can speak firsthand to the incredible experience that we did have. It was a lot of hard work that the students put into it, and it really showed as they presented out. Students had an 8 to 12 week project. Typically, it was a SWOT analysis and or financial analysis of the company. And students really dissected the company's financials, the process procedures, and really just a lot of the background information from the organization. And they put together very, very informative and robust project presentations. They had the opportunity to present out for division leaders, HR leaders, as well as corporate leaders. So it was a really great time that we spent together, and a lot of good ideas and suggestions came from these projects that we're actually working to implement within the business operations. So I'll stop there and I'll transition to, or I should say back to Will, and Will will introduce our team.
Okay, so before I introduce our panelists, while I have you as a esteemed graduate of the Kentucky State University, what was your path to Kroger? How'd you get your foot in the door?
Great question. So I was born and raised in Cincinnati, so I was always a Kroger guy. Spent my freshman year of college playing basketball at a school in Indiana and transferred down to Kentucky State. I was a junior, and I was having issues paying tuition. After I stopped playing basketball, I was having some issues. So it only made sense to pick up a part-time job. So I actually started as an overnight grocery clerk at Kroger. So this was the US Highway 127 on the west side of Frankfort, Kentucky. So I started working about 20 to 25 hours a week, stocking shelves from about 9:30 p.m. to about 4 a.m. Yep. So I really sacrificed a lot, but that was my entrance into the organization. Left the organization for a few years, went into store management with a competitor, but ultimately came back in the HR space with the organization.
Awesome. And what is it that you like most now that you work at Kroger's? What is it that you like most about working at Kroger's?
So I'll be completely transparent. Being able to say and tell the story that I work for a Fortune 500 company has always provided a great deal of pride for me. And then obviously being from Cincinnati, Kroger's is a big deal. Being from the Midwest, Kroger has always established a very strong footprint. But I would say more than anything, I've always been a very business-minded guy. So learning the operations and processes and procedures from a Fortune 500 company is a great place to learn. So I oftentimes, even though I'm in HR, I pay attention to what the company's doing as a whole, whether it's mergers and acquisitions, whether it's, different aspects. I tend to pick up a few business lessons throughout my experiences as well.
Awesome. So Joshua, let me thank you for being the co-host and for giving us that umbrella view. And so as we get into our panel discussion, we'd love for you to participate as well. And then if you see any great questions from our candidates in the chat, we'll interject those in that panel discussion. So thanks, Joshua.
Thank you.
Excellent. All right. So now we're going to transition into our meeting our panelists or meet the team. So we have 3 additional panelists along with Joshua that we're going to introduce. I want to introduce them one by one, give you a little bit of background on who they are so you have some context, so that you can get your questions ready. And then we'll have our panel discussion. I'll take the slides down. We can have a more intimate conversation with the Kroger team. All right, so the first one I'd like to introduce is Nina Lucky, Operations Product Manager, Kroger's Technology and Digital. So Nina, if you're ready.
Yes, good afternoon and good evening. My name is Nina Lucky, and I am a product manager in Kroger's Technology and Digital space. So I've been with Kroger for 6 years. Before that, I was with the Boeing company for 10 years. So going from making airplanes to groceries, huge difference. I am originally from Fayetteville, North Carolina. So I grew up as a military angel. So Fort Bragg, if you're familiar with the military. I am a proud graduate of North Carolina A&T. Aggie Pride. I think I saw a few A&T graduates in the chat window. So yeah, with me being with Kroger for about 6 years, I've held a couple of different positions. As I mentioned, currently I'm a product manager, so working in that technology space. Before that, I worked as a project manager, so working for a large fulfillment center where we have groceries that we complete the orders for customers and then deliver them to their home. If you are in some of the areas we have our fulfillment centers live, you're probably familiar with that. If not, we can talk a little bit more about that during our conversation as we get more into it. And then before that, I was working as an industrial engineer, which is my background, which is what I actually graduated from A&T with. So working to help the stores be a little bit more efficient, working with some of the store associates, trying to figure out how do we dedicate more time for the customers and reduce some of the waste inside of the stores.
Awesome. So how did you get your foot in the door at Kroger? Like, what was your introduction?
Well, let me be very transparent. Kroger was never on my list. I didn't even know what Kroger was. So because I am from the South in North Carolina, I just wasn't familiar that Harris Teeter was a brand of Kroger. So my husband is actually from the Cincinnati area, which is where I currently live today. We were living in Charleston, South Carolina, working for the Boeing company. Every year we would have to evacuate and leave the South and in Charleston, South Carolina, because of the hurricanes. And we just got tired of every year. So I looked at him and I said, hey, what do you think about moving back to Cincinnati? There's an opportunity at Kroger. And he was like, never considered that, but here we are. We're really happy that we're here. We have family that's here. And even though I do not like the cold, because I'm from the South, I really do enjoy Cincinnati.
Okay, so give us sort of a picture of a day in the life for someone that's in your role. Like, what is it like?
Every day is different.
Okay.
I will tell you that as a product manager, I'm pretty much responsible for, taking a product from the development area all the way through implementation. So I think product manager is a new term that has been on the market for a while. So just looking at how do we develop this process or this product that customers really want to enjoy? How do you own that? How do you align it with the business? How do you align it with the customers? And how do you actually produce something that customers actually want to use? So in the space that I work right now, we have a few fulfillment centers. And so we have a fulfillment center where the associates are working inside. You order your groceries online. We actually pack your orders. We put it on a delivery van and we drive it to your house. So you do not have to do the grocery shopping inside the stores. We have 8 fulfillment centers that are live throughout the US. There might be a few more coming. I think there might be some that's coming towards the South. So if you are one who does not like to grocery shop and you'd rather have someone else pack your groceries, that might be coming to a city near you.
So the customers for you and the work that your team does are actually end consumers or internal customers?
They're both.
Okay.
They're both. So as a operations product manager inside of the fulfillment center, we work with operations to figure out how do we make this process more profitable? What are some ways that we can reduce waste? So I'm taking some of my industrial engineering background and applying it to this role that we have today, but just kind of pairing it with the technology piece of it.
Awesome, awesome. So my favorite question that I'm going to probably ask everyone on the panel, and that is, what is it that you like most about working for Kroger?
Well, to be very transparent again, when I first started with Kroger, I talked about the challenges. It was, I think I came in during, we had voluntary layoff options. So there are a lot of talent that was leaving the organization. And it was really tough to figure out, okay, what do we do? What am I here for? But one thing I do enjoy, there's a lot of opportunity. As I mentioned, this is my 3rd role with the Kroger company, and I've enjoyed kind of moving around, understanding the entire enterprise. So I would say the most thing that I enjoy about is you don't have to stay in one space. You can move around and get as much experience as possible.
Awesome. So Nina, let me thank you for being one of our panelists. I'll ask you to hang on and join us once everyone has introduced themselves as we start our panel discussion.
Thank
So,
you.
Yep. All right, so next up, let me introduce Melvin C. Jones, MSL PHR, Senior HR Leader, Kroger Supply Chain and Manufacturing. So Melvin, if you're ready.
Yes, good evening, everyone. And thank you, Will and Josh, for putting this together. I am Melvin Jones. I am a proud graduate of North Carolina A&T State University. I graduated in 1988 from North Carolina A&T, and I've worked for Kroger since that time in several roles. So that kind of tells you how old I am. This year, I celebrated 35 years with the company, which many say that is very unusual to work that long for a company. But for me, it feels like I worked for several companies within this one big corporation. I've had the opportunity to work. I started out in the retail side of our business as a management trainee in our retail stores. I did that role as a co-manager and then a HR specialist and then a operations manager for about 6 years. I was in the place where Nina was from, Fayetteville, North Carolina, and have worked in several cities since that time. I enjoy what I do as a senior HR leader with the company. I have the opportunity to facilitate the development of the great people that work for Kroger. So I'm very happy to be a part of this panel. I am a proud HBCU graduate. Regardless of what school we're from, we have our rivalries, I know. But at the end of the day, we can land on being proud to be a graduate from an HBCU.
For sure, for sure. So Melvin, let me thank you for being one of our panelists, but I got a couple of follow-up questions for you. So how did you get your foot in the door? I heard you mention the management development program. Was that how you got your foot in the door at Kroger?
It is. It wasn't called that back then, but I too had no intent of working for Kroger. Kroger was not on my list of places that I thought I would work for after going to school for 4 years. But there was an individual whose husband worked for Kroger as a retail manager. And she said, "Hey, you ever thought about working for Kroger?" My response at that time was no. Did not go to school for 4 years to work in a grocery store. But as I began to research it and look at it, had a conversation with him and looked at the opportunities that was available. And there were not a lot of people that looked like me when I started. So I'm a man of faith. I prayed about it. I did have other opportunities, but this is where I was led. And I'm glad that I've been able to have success with Kroger and also provide opportunities for many others.
So in your role, as a senior HR leader, what is the typical talent profile that you all are always looking for, like opportunities that you see that are available in the supply chain and manufacturing area?
There are a variety of opportunities. Like me, there are many that have a picture of Kroger being the brick and mortar store. Within supply chain and manufacturing, we have 34 manufacturing plants. And if you think about store brands, or brands like Nabisco, Procter & Gamble, Charmin, and those various national brands, we are the facilities that produce the store brands for Kroger.
Okay.
And within each one of those manufacturing facilities, we have professional roles, such as human resources. We have financial leaders. We have IT. We have engineers. And then at the frontline level of leadership, we have supervisors. So there are any discipline that you could think of exist within the supply chain and manufacturing division.
So Melvin, if you and I were sitting down at dinner and I was considering an opportunity to work at Kroger, and I ask you, what is it that you like most about working for Kroger? What would you tell me about Kroger as a selling point? What would you tell me at that dinner?
I would say to you that if you don't want to get stuck in doing the same thing for a long period of time, if you want stability and you want the opportunity to grow, and if you get to a point of your career or life that you want to pivot, then Kroger will provide that opportunity. As some of the other panelists have said, there are folk that have come into our company with the goal, with the career path of being in retail as a retail manager, but then that pivot comes and now they become go over to manufacturing or within corporate or within IT. The depth of disciplines and careers within our company is so great that it's pretty much, I know it's cliche to say it, but really the sky is the limit. If you want to grow and you want stability, and by the way, a solid income, then Kroger will provide that opportunity for you.
Yeah, I've actually got close friends of mine that now that I think about it, when I worked at Kroger, that went off to college and worked at Kroger through college, and now still work at Kroger to this day in management. So I think that speaks to exactly what you're sharing. So my last question for you is, what is it that you personally like most about working for Kroger?
I would say that for me, over 35 years, I grew up in a very small town, and I never would have imagined that I would be working beyond a facility, so to speak. What I like most is that I've been able to touch just about every major division of Kroger. My interaction with the executive and leadership team, my voice being heard. And don't get me wrong, early on there were significant challenges. But Kroger has made a commitment to diversity and inclusion, and that has certainly come to fruition. So I would say what I like most is that my voice is heard and my expertise and opinion makes a difference, not just in my facility, but within the various divisions that I have supported over the years.
Excellent. I appreciate you being a part of the panel and sharing. I'll ask you to hold on for once we come back for our full panel discussion and Q&A. So thanks, Melvin.
All right.
All right, so next up, let me introduce our third and final panelist, Pat Aco, Manager of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. So Pat, if you're ready.
I am ready. Hi there, Will. Thanks again for having me as a panelist today. I really appreciate that. Again, my name is Pat Aco. I am originally from Detroit, Michigan. I am a proud graduate of Howard University, the HU. I have to put that out there. I'm a pharmacist by trade, and I started with the company as a pharmacy manager, and I was a pharmacy district manager, a coordinator, and then I came to Cincinnati. I first joined the procurement team. So what that means is I bought drugs for a living. Legal, but I bought drugs for a living. So in addition to procurement, I worked on the clinical team and marketing team, and it was so many opportunities that I worked with Kroger. So, and then today, I'm actually on the HR team because I work in diversity, equity, inclusion, and I'm the manager of diversity in the HR department.
Awesome. So Pat, thank you for being here. Allow me to ask a few follow-up questions. Of course, how did you get your foot in the door at Kroger in the first place?
Yes. Well, I started again as a pharmacy manager. And when I started, again, I just had my 33rd anniversary with Kroger. So when I started as a pharmacy manager, there was a demand for pharmacy managers. So fortunate for me, I had 3 or 4 offers. And after, again, reviewing it, praying over it, I decided to move forward with Kroger. And it's been a great decision.
And so what is a day in the life like for you in your current role?
Ooh, well, like Nina, every day is different. My day is I work with a lot of different teams. I may work with our learning and development team for training. I may work with different teams on making sure that we have certain elements or certain documents translated for those associates that English may not be the first language. I also work with our associate resource groups across the company, we have 100 resource groups. And here in Cincinnati, at General Office, we have 15. So working with the associate resource groups, but I haven't given up my world of pharmacy, which was my first love. 2 days a week, I actually work at the University of Cincinnati College of Pharmacy as the Director of Diversity. So there, I may lecture, I work with students, I do a lot of things on those 2 days when I go to UC. So again, very busy. So working not only with Kroger, but the college as well.
And for you personally, what is it that you like most about working at Kroger?
Well, a couple of things. One, in starting with Kroger, I was able to find my community. And so that was so important for me. And then I also like the fact with Kroger that, again, who knew I could be a pharmacist and the day I'm working in HR. So I think Nina and Melvin both mentioned it. But when you work for a large company where they have a lot of opportunities, I didn't have to leave the company with all the opportunities available. I was able to switch roles and learn. And someone once told me that just because you're in pharmacy does not mean you have to stay in pharmacy. And that was great advice. And I was able to move within the company.
Awesome. So Pat, let me thank you for being one of our panelists. And with that, all of our introductions completed, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take down the slides and we're going to have a conversation. Let's talk. So to our candidates, so let me stop sharing real fast. To our candidates, to our panelists, you can turn on your video feed. Louisa, if you can help me pin our panelists so that we can spotlight them for the conversation. To our candidates, there's 2 ways that you all can ask questions, right? So we are here, ultimately, we are here for you, right? So we want to present opportunities from the Kroger team. We want you to ask questions about the Kroger culture, things that are important to you. So whatever questions you have, or specifically to certain team members based on their background, based on what they currently do at Kroger, we are here for you to answer your questions. Now, at the beginning of the meeting, I wasn't sure if we would have time for me to allow you all to ask questions on video and come off of mute, but it looks like we have plenty of time to do that. So if you have a question, I'm going to start out with my panel questions, but if you have a question, you can actually turn on your video and use the reaction feature to raise your hand. So inside Zoom, there's an option that says reactions. I'm going to show you guys right now. It says reactions. You click on that, and then you can click on raise hand. And then this is what it'll look like. So if you want to ask a question and you want to do that personally by introducing yourself and asking the question briefly, we will allow you to do that as we go. All right, so let me lower my hand. And I'm going to kick off the first question to one of our panelists, and then I'll be looking for your questions as well, either in the chat or for you to raise your hand, and then I'll call on you to ask your question to our panel. Okay, so first question is for Nina. So Nina, what are some of the biggest challenges in your role and how have you overcome them?
Well, how much time do we have? Okay, let me start by saying this. So the technology and digital space is newer to Kroger. I mentioned around, the fulfillment centers that we have. The fulfillment center that one of them that we have is in the Cincinnati area. It's about 30 miles north of Cincinnati. It just opened during COVID. It was in 2020, March of 2020. And there were a lot of things that were developed, but I think we are now going back to understand what can we do better. So a lot of the challenges that we face today in the role that I'm in is trying to understand how do we bridge those gaps so that our associates are doing the best that they can, our customers are receiving the best quality, everything from that aspect. So there are a lot of things that we don't know. I'm currently working on a project to try to understand how do we actually deliver alcohol from the fulfillment centers.
Okay.
We don't know what that looks like.
Right.
And our customers want the hard spirits, right? the legal ages anyway. So we're trying to understand what that looks like, and we're trying to determine what all is needed, what the technology space looks like. And because we're in the new space, we don't know. So a lot of it is, putting together strategies and figuring out what the next steps are. So it's challenging and exciting at the same time. I'm learning a lot in this space. But there are days where we start to swirl and we don't know which way is left or right. But I think the team is really great because we're all understanding what that end goal look like. So I really enjoy working with not just my team, but the larger team and getting to know some of those folks within the Kroger company.
Awesome. Okay, so I see a couple of hands are raised. So I'm going to prioritize your questions over mine. So if anybody has a question, make sure to use the reaction feature and raise your hand. So the first person we have in the queue is Ayana. So Ayana, if you'd like to ask your question.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, got you.
Okay. Well, my name is Ayana. I'm a recent grad from Savannah State University with a bachelor's in business. I just want to say thank you all for taking the time because I love this type of stuff. But get right to the point. My question is, within Kroger, are there any current learning and development opportunities that you all experience on a day-to-day basis? Like, do you all have opportunities to learn and, develop your skills within the company?
Great question. So would someone on the team like to volunteer to answer?
I'll jump in. At Kroger, we have a learning and development team, and it's their role is to develop content for our associates. We also, I believe it's this week, have learning and development weeks where you can spend 2 to 3 hours making sure that you're looking through what's out there to, again, increase your knowledge and have self-development. So there are a number of ways where you can have that professional development within Kroger.
Awesome. Ayana, thank you for the question. And if you have any other questions, feel free to jump back in the queue.
Thank you.
All right. So Ejike, I see you have your hand raised. So would you like to come off of mute and ask your question?
Yes, sir. Hi, guys. My name is Ejike Ozije. I actually relate to you, Nina. I graduated with industrial engineer background, found my way into project management and trying to find my way into product management. So I very much relate to that. And so the question is kind of piggybacking off of what Ayana asked. Is there, as we're going into the technology space, as I would like to go into product management or project management, is there a mentorship where someone higher up gets to pair with someone newer as they learn the different technologies associated with Kroger to help them through a certain amount of time to get used to the expectations, but also to plan on where they can go from there?
Great question.
Yeah, I will take the first part of it, and then Joshua, Pat, and Melvin, if you have something to add, please do. I will tell you, I have been asking if there are mentor-mentee programs that we have, and formally we do not. However, there have been just, mentors that you can look up to, so you can schedule one-on-one meetings with people that are in the space who have a little bit more experience. Everyone is very, very open. So if you find someone that's in the space that you want to be in as a product manager, for example, I just schedule meetings with people and we talk through those things. As a matter of fact, this is how I got the current job that I'm in. I just scheduled a one-on-one with someone and told them, hey, can you tell me more about your space? And when an opportunity was available, they reached back out to me and I applied, ended up getting the role. So that is just one of the ways. It's very informal, but I think also it's a little bit more personal to do it that way because you can connect with others and understand what opportunities there are available.
Awesome. Also use LinkedIn.
Yeah, I'll build on that as well. And because we're so large, there are some elements in manufacturing. We're now part of supply chain, but for a while for many years, we were a standalone division, and I had the fortunate pleasure of overseeing our formal mentoring program within manufacturing. So there was within at least manufacturing a formalized mentorship program. But there is within supply chain, there is a measure of that still exists. So it sort of depends upon where you land. I know within where you want to land within Nina's area, it may not exist except the way that she says, but know that anyone is open to provide that level of mentorship that you're seeking, particularly within the diversity and inclusion arena.
Excellent. Thank you for the question. Okay, I see a couple more hands up. Kanatochi, did you want to ask a question? I saw
I
you
had a question, but you answered me, sort of.
Okay, perfect. So Ayana, I saw you had your hand up again. Did you want to ask a follow-up question?
Yes. So I know with a lot of larger companies, minorities can kind of get lost in the sauce. So I just want to know personally, like anyone can answer on the panel, but like how would you all describe Kroger's values, for minorities, for African American women or men or just in general? Like how would you all describe the values of Kroger? Because I feel like that's so important for an employer, to feel like you're valued. So I don't know.
That's a great question. That's actually one on my list. So maybe we default that one to Pat or Josh.
Yes. A couple of things. One, Kroger has values. And, one thing that I have to say about Kroger is when George Floyd happened, one thing that Kroger did was it got African Americans on a panel and they conducted a number of listening sessions. And based on those listening sessions, they came up with what we call the framework for action, which has 5 different pillars. A lot of companies now that George Floyd is no longer in the news, whatever, they're cutting back on their diversity. But that's not the case with Kroger. We are working on having an advisory panel, a steering committee. We have leaders that's part of the associate resource groups. So I've been very proud of Kroger being a large company, keeping the gas on diversity, understanding, being willing to listen first before coming up with the plan, which was very important. And, again, with that, when I started, I was a quiet mouse in the corner, right? You probably, again, being transparent, you probably didn't even know I was in the room, right? But as time went on, I was encouraged that my voice matters. Even if I didn't agree with what's being said, let us know what your thoughts are and give us your voice, right? And also with that, again, I have natural hair, I have a bubbly personality, but it's been embraced by Kroger, and I've been able to build on some relationships that I've met, and so it's been wonderful. Again, the associate resource group, can't say enough about that because that's like a family, right? And you can go there and be with other people that have similar interests. So hats off to Kroger to continue to show where diversity, equity, and inclusion is important.
Joshua?
And if I could, I'll jump. And thank you for that, Pat. That was great insight and great dialogue and great question, Ayana. So in addition to what Pat mentioned, and I'll speak firsthand, Kroger has been very, very intentional for years, but specifically the last several, I think is elevated. But I can honestly say I've been in my current role, I've been in HR for probably a decade, but I've been in my current role 2.5 years. And when I took over role, we probably had maybe 6 or 7 active HBCU partnerships. And that number is more than tripled in 2.5 years. And in addition to the 23 HBCU partnerships we have a total of 60 culturally diverse. So Hispanic serving institutions, all women's schools, and so on and so forth. So I could definitely say Kroger has been very intentional. I've been around for a few years now. Obviously, Pat and I think Melvin might have me trumped a little bit, but what I can say is I've seen the progression, and I've been a part of our African American Associate Resource Group for the last 8 years now, and I've taken on some leadership roles within the organization or within the Associate Resource Group, and I could definitely say that leaders do listen, right? Like leaders do listen. They are open, and I honestly feel, even though Kroger is a company of 450,000 associates, it feels kind of small at times because you kind of know a few people if you've been around for a few while. And to Pat's point, it does kind of become more of a family reunion when we have a lot of functions. So I could definitely say, just to your question, the company's been very intentional on really growing and even bringing on more diverse minority suppliers and so forth within our stores and selling more of those products from culturally diverse and or minority. So intentionality has been big.
Excellent question. So I see about 3 more hands raised. So like I said, I'm going to prioritize your questions over mine because we are here for you. So Gary, I see you have your hand raised. You'd like to ask a question? Hey, Gary, we can't hear you if you're talking. Might want to check your audio. So yeah, we can't hear you. So definitely check your audio video within Zoom. And then
Hi, excuse me. While Gary gets his mic together, I actually dialed in, so I can't raise my hand.
Okay.
Is it okay if I ask my question?
Go for it. Go for it. What's your name?
My name's Aaliyah. I graduated from the University of Houston.
Okay.
And I actually want to go back to school and master in business. And I just wanted to know if Kroger invest in furthering education, like
Great
paying
question.
for master's degrees and
Absolutely.
sending us back to school.
So that's definitely an HR question. So thank you for that. I'll jump on it, or I'll take this. Excuse me. So I actually, about 2 years ago, I actually received, really over COVID, I should say, I went back to school and I earned my MBA. And Kroger does offer tuition reimbursement. So we offer up to $3,500 per year and up to $21,000 for the life of that educational experience. So yes, we do. Obviously, you have to have at least a C or better passing that class, and the university has to be at least accredited. But we do offer tuition reimbursement.
Excellent question and excellent answer. So I see a couple more hands up. So Seville, if you wanted to come up.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity. And I was wondering if you guys have an IT jobs or IT openings,
IT career opportunities,
like software development or something like that.
And I could jump back in, and I know Nina's very versed on the technology. So we do. We have, each division kind of has IT within the division, so you'll see those roles throughout. We're very, I should say, we've come a long way on that technology side. So the main hub is here in Cincinnati, but what we've done over the years, we've made a lot of those roles virtual. So you don't technically physically have to be in Cincinnati for every IT role. But yes, we do have a very growing IT department and obviously opportunities there. I would definitely encourage you, if you have not done so already, the KrogerCo.com. You can pretty much put in a search for anything technical. If you have a specific certification, cloud, A+ or whatever that background may look like for you. That could be Scrum or however. If you have a specific concentration, I will search for that concentration. But we do have a lot of IT roles that are currently available and that will be available in the near future. So we do hire a lot of IT. Typically, we'll focus on computer science, but we'll also have other areas of concentration for the tech background as well.
Yeah, and we'll send out the link to all of Kroger's career opportunities. So just keep an eye on your email for that. And then towards the end of the event, we'll likely post it in the chat as well. So great question. So next question, Gary, is your audio good?
Is it? You tell me.
Yes, I got it. We can hear you.
All right, perfect. All right, so my name's Gary. I graduated last year with a degree in sport management. And my question is, well, I'm gonna start with like everybody, or I probably imagine most of us went to college during COVID. How has Kroger like adapted to like changes in market trends and whatnot since COVID?
I think Nina touched on a little bit of the COVID experience.
Yeah, I'll speak and then I'll let the other panelists jump in. Joshua hit on a little bit of this. So a lot of my colleagues, I'm in Cincinnati, they're everywhere else. I have a colleague that's in Louisiana, a colleague that's in Oregon, a colleague that's in Texas. And so we've gotten a little bit better with not having to be in the space. I think we actually did really well during COVID, and we've actually proved out we don't have to necessarily be in the office 5 days a week to get the job done. So if you go back and look at our performance outside of the stores, there's a lot of opportunity that was developed through COVID, and we were able to get those opportunities up and running. So again, if you're not in the Cincinnati area, which is where corporate is located, you don't necessarily have to be here. You can get your job done, in the comfort of your home. We've gotten better with doing that with technology, by the way. So I'll throw that out there.
No, absolutely. And I'll follow up on it. And great points there, Nina. So to the point that Nina just mentioned, a lot of our roles have become remote and or hybrid. So we knew as other companies are hiring, we had to adjust to the market trends to stay competitive and bringing talent in. So there are some roles where it may be under the corporate umbrella here at headquarters, but they may be in Florida, or they may be in Memphis, Tennessee, or Detroit, Michigan, or Chicago. So we've done a good job with that. But two, on the talent acquisition side, we've gone virtual as well. Like we have a partnership with Handshake. So we host a lot of virtual events, i.e. the one we're on now, but we host a lot of virtual recruiting events. We're very in tune to virtual career fairs, even though many have gone back in person. We'll have lunch and learns, we'll have fireside chats, we'll have different events that are virtual driven, so you can be anywhere in the country and still hear and learn more about career pathing. So we've pretty much adjusted to the market or along with the market.
Gary, did that answer your question?
Yeah, to answer that for the most part. I was also wanting to hear more about like even on the retail and like like during COVID, I imagine like grocery stores probably took a big hit. So like what happened like in stores, if you know?
So I'll say this, and then I love to hear Melvin's perspective or background. So some roles just can't be virtual. It's just that simple. You can't be, to my knowledge, a virtual pharmacist. Like you typically have to be there to dispense the drug. So there are frontline workers with the organization that unfortunately did not go home for COVID. So our store associates, they were frontline associates. So they stayed there in stores, manufacturing plants, they physically have to be there. So some roles, it's just really not a way around it. You have to be in person. But what I can say, even during the pandemic, Kroger sales went, I don't want to say through the roof, but we had some large increases. So Kroger was one of the few companies that actually surged through the pandemic and wasn't negatively impacted. So we definitely did well around that. But some of our roles, i.e. store management, they just can't be remote.
Melvin, did you want to add anything to that question?
Yes, and I would just say that the company did a very good job as far as managing our associates. I raised my hand. I'm being an HR leader on site. We were there on the front line. So what that looked like is that the stores and the plants were retrofitted with barriers, and social distancing was in place. When it came to individuals that were out with COVID, we were one of the few companies that paid our associates for the time that they were out. And it was 6 weeks of pay that associates could receive while they were out with COVID. There were just a lot of benefits that the company did to look out for our associates. We made pay adjustments and did quite a few things to take care of our associates that were on those front line. And at the end of it, where there were some businesses that did not make it through the pandemic, there were companies, consumers that were not able to get the goods that were needed. We're proud that our associates were there and took care of the customers.
Awesome. So I see a few more hands raised, but Jesse, I don't think you had a chance to ask a question yet. Do you want to come off of mute and ask the question?
Good evening, everyone. Jesse, as mentioned, I wanted to introduce myself and discuss the hiring event here. So as far as the recruiting process and everything, do y'all offer or have an exclusive link or something like that that we would be using in order to achieve or gain employment with you all?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So once we finish up the panel discussion, we're going to share 2 links with you. One link is going to be, actually it's going to be 3. We're going to send out a survey, which will only take you about 2 minutes to complete the survey. Secondly, we have a link specifically for folks to attend the Fall Virtual College Symposium, and that'll get you directly in the Kroger system. And then third, we're going to send you a link to a list of all of the opportunities that you can apply for at Kroger. So we'll follow up with that shortly. So thanks for the question. Okay, so I'm going to ask.
So you're saying, oh,
Sure.
yeah, I wasn't done.
Sure.
My apologies.
No worries.
Yeah, I was asking, so that link there that you were just discussing or mentioning, that's going to be pretty much what a link that everyone will be using, excluding the recruiting event here.
Correct.
As in, there's no exclusivity or exclusivity.
For that particular link, for the well, the link that we're going to send with all of the jobs actually will pass through HBCU CONNECT. So then they will know that you came from this particular engagement.
Right. Okay. That answers. But thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. Okay, so I've got a couple more questions that I want to ask from my panel questions. And then to our candidates, like I said, if you have additional questions, feel free to use the raise hand feature within Zoom, which is like a reaction. And then we've got about 20 minutes left for Q&A. All right, so my question is to Melvin, and actually to the rest of the panel, if anyone else wants to jump in on this one. That is, what advice can you offer candidates that are interviewing with Kroger to maximize their chances of being considered for employment?
And that's thank you for asking. That's a very good question. Kroger, we use behavioral based interviews. So the best advice, the recommendation I can give anyone when interviewing with Kroger and likely any company is to practice behavioral based interviewing questions. And you can go out to Google or any search engine and pull up behavior-based interview questions that will be appropriate for your particular discipline. The practice piece of it is that what we will be looking for in those interviews are specific examples and how you handled those examples. What was your contribution? What did you do to resolve a specific issue? That's the best advice that I can give as far as preparing for the interview. Even being with the company for 35 years, as I would apply for promotional roles, I would practice with my wife or others before the interview, and it would sometimes take several hours just to make sure that I was able to answer the questions in a clear and concise manner with specific examples.
And I love that answer, Melvin. And just to add on to it, I would say also think like an interviewer, right? Don't just think of yourself and that, but what is the interviewer looking for? What are their traits? What have you done? What are scenarios? So again, the best advice I have is think like the interviewer.
Excellent input. And so
If I can add on,
Oh,
if
go
I
ahead.
could add just real quick,
Mhm.
one piece of advice that I was given as I was going through interviews through my career is use the STAR method, STAR. STAR, I'm sorry, the S stands for situation, describe the situation. T, what was your task? A, what was your action? And then R, what was your results? Another piece of advice that I was given is when you're interviewing, show your personality. You do not have to be a robot. So I would definitely take that and apply it to your next interviews.
Speaking of using your personality, I had a question queued up for Pat, but for anyone else that wants to interject, and that was, do you feel that you can be yourself, culturally speaking, working at Kroger?
You know, when I first started, again, being transparent, I coming from an HBCU where we were the majority, and I came to Kroger, and now I'm in the minority. I was like, whew, I don't know. But, you know, as I've gone through the years, as I've begun to understand my role and what was around me, meeting people who were able to mentor me or able to talk to me. Absolutely. Things that are important, again, are my faith. And, you know, you see, I got natural hair, so I've had braids, I've had the gamut there. And it's so important to be yourself, be your authentic self. And, you know, again, being transparent, 33 years ago, when I walked in, I wasn't so sure, but having some great managers to say, hey, I see you're not answering questions. What questions? We need to hear your voice. What is it? What are your thoughts? Even if you don't think like me, I want your perspective, and you're at the table, and it's a reason why you're at the table. And so with all that, I began to say, okay, and I could be my authentic self at work, but just to be transparent, it wasn't day one. It was as people coach me to get there.
Awesome.
But you can do it.
Awesome insight. Appreciate it. So I see a few more hands up from a couple of folks that haven't had a chance to ask a question. Then we'll circle back to Ayana and Ejike. But Aisha, did you want to ask a question?
Yes, so hi everyone, my name is Aisha Jared. I'm a student at the University of District of Columbia, and I'm an undergraduate. I'm also an international student. So my question is, do you guys actually hire international students?
I'll jump in and Melvin, keep me honest on the HR side. So broad answer, yes, we do. I think, and I don't want to get too far in the weeds, I haven't seen a lot of visas issued unless the role was an extremely hard to fill role. But if it's a standard entry level role, the chances of the company sponsoring the visa are very low. Not to say that we haven't or we won't, but there has to be an absolute demand and need for that role that we can't find domestically in order to move forward with a visa.
Okay, understand. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. So next, Tavia, did you want to ask a question as well?
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for saying my name correctly. Hi, my name is Tavia Renee. I'm out of the Atlanta, Georgia area. I'm currently in the implementation space. I work along within like project management as well, and I haven't received my PMP yet, and I wanted to know, does Kroger invest in like your human capital? I don't know if this question was asked, but just investing in like post-secondary education or tuition reimbursement or certificates?
Great question.
I'll jump back in. So yes, we do offer tuition reimbursement. So certificates and or degrees fall under that bucket. So we'll offer up to $3,500 a year and up to $21,000 for the life of that educational experience. So we have, for example, I have a frat brother who works for the organization. He has an accounting background, accounting by trade. He actually moved forward with earning his CPA, and the company helped cover a lot of the costs associated with the testing and classes and so forth. So yes, we do. You'll have a lot of HR professionals that either have a PHR similar to Melvin, SHRM. We have a SHRM Essentials class that we run. Actually, one of my frat brothers kind of oversees the SHRM process. So yes, the company does a lot of reinvesting back into associates in addition to just wages. We do offer the tuition reimbursement as well. So certificates do fall under that bucket, so to speak.
Awesome. Thanks for that answer, Joshua, and thanks for the question. Stephanie, if you'd like to ask your question. You just have to come off mute. There you go. Oops. There you go. Can you hit the unmute? All right, so maybe some technical difficulties there. So Stephanie, while you get that together, Kanatochi, did you want to ask your question?
Hello, thank you. I'm not an international student, but to go back to Ashley Garrett's, or sorry, I don't remember her name, but you said you hire international students if they fill particular qualifications. So what kind of position would that be?
I think Joshua said it was.
It'll come back to me. So just to clarify, so Kroger has the option to sponsor a visa if needed, but the reality is what I was explaining, if there has to be an absolute business need for it. If there's not a business need to sponsor the visa, there's a very low probability that we will. We obviously we're an equal opportunity employer, but sponsoring a visa without going too deep into the weeds is multi-layered. But if there is an absolute need there and we cannot find that talent domestically and we have to, then the company won't rule that option out. But traditionally, for most entry-level roles, you most likely won't see that happen as far as the sponsorship, just because a lot of the entry-level roles can be filled domestically. Does that help?
Yep, thanks.
Okay, so Stephanie, is your audio working now?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So hey, my name is Stephanie. I just graduated. I'm soon to graduate from my MBA for the Polytechnic University of Puerto Rico. So I'm a Latina. A quick question will be, what is the interview process? And I am actually pursuing a financial MBA. So is there any financial model part of the process or not?
Good question.
I can chime in on that one. So within each division, we do have financial leaders at every level. Likely with an MBA, what you'll be looking for would likely be something through our corporate office. So at the jobs.kroger portal, you will be able to find those opportunities. We also have a training process within supply chain and logistics that would facilitate the onboarding of those individuals. But we have a significant need for strong financial individuals. So the opportunity is there, and I would encourage you to apply.
Absolutely. And Melvin, I'll add to that. So, and I'm speaking more so from a corporate perspective, and keep in mind, corporate is headquartered in Cincinnati, but there's a lot of associates within our divisions that report up to corporate. So not everyone's physically here in Cincinnati. We have Kroger Personal Finance, KPF. They're here in downtown Cincinnati as well, literally probably 3 blocks from our Vine Street headquarters. So there's ample opportunities there in the actual finance. We have strategic finance at our corporate. We have audit, we have accounting. So there's a lot of financial opportunities. Many of them are found again on our career website, but the process is really simple. If you see a role that you fit the requirements for, obviously you would just apply like any other role. If your qualifications fit and meet the need of that role, a recruiter or talent scout will most likely reach out to you. Typically, there's like a 3-step process, from a screening, from a second level interview, and then most times that hiring manager in that department will have the final interview. So a lot of times you'll most likely come through my department, talent acquisition, but it really, and MBAs are great. Again, I have my MBA. I know Pat has her MBA as well. A lot of it is experience, right? So the book work is awesome. It definitely adds a lot of value, but we want to know that you're able to do the job. So if it's an audit job, then by all means, you have to have some type of audit background to really be successful in that role. If it's a accounting role, obviously, depending on which department within accounting, we would like to see that you have accounting experience. So the book work, the degrees are great. Most of the time, they're the prerequisite, but the experience a lot of times will trump a lot of things. So that's kind of how the process works. And then obviously, if you are the candidate that we would like to move forward with, we'll extend you a job offer for that role.
All
Perfect.
right.
Thank you.
Thanks for the question. Okay, so we'll circle back. We've got about 5 more minutes. Ayana, if you'd like to go ahead and ask your question.
Yes, I'm gonna make it quick. I know everyone are in different roles, and I know everyone has their own set of goals. Not sure what Kroger's fiscal year is, but what are performance reviews like? Are they like based, once you get a performance review, do you get like a 5% pay bump? Like, what are performance reviews like, and how important are they to Kroger?
Good question. So everybody knows a little bit about that.
I can start and then
Okay, go ahead.
pass it around. So I will say in my years with Kroger, I've had some really great experiences with the performance management. I used to work for the Boeing company. I mentioned that. So I got 10 years there, and it's very similar. So you write your goals for the fiscal year. You know what you have to achieve. You either make it or you don't. But I think most people, you come to work, you want to do a job that's well done. And if you're not able to meet those goals, you do have an opportunity to make some changes through the year if things do change. And so managers are very understanding, especially if the work does change. I would say with the experience I've had, I've been very happy with my performances. I think managers might get, a bucket and then they have to distribute it from there. And it does depend on, how well you achieve your goals according to maybe your colleagues or other team members on your team. But I haven't had any complaints since I've been here.
And I'll jump in too before I turn it over to our colleagues in HR, is that, you have also you have the mid-level check-ins. So you have, hopefully when you get to your evaluation, it's not a surprise, right? So you know what your goals are, you know what you're aiming for, and then your manager is able to tell you, yes, no, you're online, you're not online, and you're able to tweak before the final evaluations. And like Nina, I've been very happy with my evaluations.
Great question. Okay, Ejike, did you want to ask a question?
Yes, I'll be very quick as well. So I had a question specifically for Nina, and then one to open up for the group. How are you guys in terms of Scrum, in terms of in the project management space? And have you guys started or looking into incorporating AI in Kroger IT?
That's a good question.
Wow. Okay. So I'm gonna make this brief. I know we don't have a lot of time, but I can go on and on about this. So as far as the Scrum process, I don't work in that area, but we do have Scrum Masters in the Kroger technology and digital space. So you do have those individuals working in the sprints, trying to figure out, okay, this is what we have to do in this amount of time. You mentioned something around the AI space. We just had a conference last week and we had a speaker come and talk around AI. And we are starting to get into that space. We're creeping in there, but they talked around some of the, platforms that are being used and what that looks like. I think there's opportunity for us to look at that. We also have a data company that we're partnered with that's underneath our brand. It's called 8451. So they have some of those analysis that they're doing. They're working very closely with Kroger. So there's lots of opportunity. AI is moving faster than we expected. I think it just hit the scene and it is going faster than we probably anticipated. But again, lots of opportunity there. So yeah, I can go on and on, but I won't. But if anybody else wants to jump in and talk around that, please feel free to do so.
I appreciate the question. Okay, so I see a new hand raised, Leona. If you'd like to ask a question.
First of all, I wanted to say thank you for promoting this. We do know that in big tech companies and retail as well, there's always this issue of recruiting, retention, and promoting Black talents. And I do appreciate the recruiting aspects. And so what is Kroger's, someone touched on it, and I just want to know the retention aspect and as well as promoting so that more Black and diverse talents can see people that look like them and look up to them. Thank you.
Great question.
Can I start? I want to start and then I'm gonna leave it up to y'all. Man, you just hit the head right there. Pat touched on this a little bit, and I think Joshua did as well, but we have a Kroger African American resource group. And I'll tell you, that's the reason why I've stayed with Kroger, because I have dabbled on, is this the right place for me? And I'm so happy that I'm still here. I've had some experiences where I've went to the African American resource group and talked with a few people. There's so many opportunities. I actually got promoted in a management space. So I have a person that is reporting to me, just one person, like just give me one and just let me, play around in that space. But it has been a really good experience. So you talk about development, and Kroger really does appreciate those who want to go into that space. It's been a really good experience. And so there's a lot of opportunity if you want to start, being into that space in that area. I've had great experience, and I have a lot of people supporting me, especially knowing that I am an African American female. So again, there's a lot of opportunity. I'm sure Joshua, Melvin, and Pat can touch on a little bit more, but I'm just kind of sharing from my experience.
And I'll just jump in quickly, as you prepare for your professional development to be a leader, that associate resource group, I can't say enough about it, because in that you're trying to get others to follow you and to get something accomplished, be it a volunteer event or whatever it is. And you learn so much. It gives you leadership development by working with the ARG. So people will say, I don't know what to do, but you have all types of special projects, all types of things you can do with associate resource. And that's also a great place to learn that leadership development within the company. And I will say, I'm seeing more and more leaders that look like me, which is very refreshing.
Excellent question. And on that note, I will throw a testimonial out there, at least on the retail side. When I worked at Kroger, I worked at my neighborhood Kroger, and all of the management was diverse. When back, and this was a long time ago, back in the 90s. So no, I think that speaks volumes in the fact that we're here right now, and the fact that the folks from Kroger are taking the time out of their schedules to be here and answer your questions and talk about the opportunities. So speaking of opportunities, want to bring my slides back up and pass it back over to Joshua to talk about upcoming early talent events at Kroger.
Absolutely. So thank you, Will. I will be brief. I know we're almost at time. So next Wednesday, if you have not registered already, we will be having our fall college symposium. It is virtual. It is free. This will be a 3-hour event. By all means, if you cannot stay all 3 hours, we perfectly and understand, but we would love to see you. You'll hear a lot more about careers, actual job positions, and really how you can go about obtaining one, whether it's an internship and or entry-level role, or if you're someone seeking mid-level, we'll also have opportunities as well. But definitely next Wednesday, August 30th from 1 p.m. to 4 Eastern Standard Time, there should be a link there. The QR code will actually take you there, kind of show you we're having more of a career series. So we'll have mock interviews in a few weeks. We'll have resume critiques. So basically everything you need to prepare yourself for the next steps, it is there. There's been a few questions about direct links or where to apply. All your career roles are going to be at thekrogerco.com. So whether, irregardless of your major, your background, if we have a department in an area of concentration, it's there. The roles are there. So again, thekrogerco.com is where you would need to go to actually apply. I know there's a few other links, so I won't misspeak too much on additional. But again, click the QR code, and if you want to screenshot this actual slide, you can as well.
Awesome. So thanks for that insight as well, Joshua. But let's talk about quick next steps. Joshua has so graciously offered his contact info, as you can see on the slide there, joshua.grace@kroger.com. My recommendation, so that we don't overwhelm Joshua, is that you first find the job that you like to apply for and apply, and then let Joshua know if you have any follow-up questions. But he has graciously offered his contact information. Of course, you can reach out to folks on LinkedIn as well to network with our panelists. And we're going to ask that you provide us just 2 minutes of your time to do our post-event survey. So Louisa, if you can drop that in the chat, I'd appreciate it. That's our survey in the chat. Just take 2 minutes to let us know how we're doing so that we can perpetuate opportunities like this, not only for yourselves, but for those that come behind you. And then, of course, we have the quick apply link that will go to the programs that Joshua just mentioned. So just go to hbcuconnect.com/Kroger/apply, and that will redirect you to the right place to get into the stream of communications for that those particular opportunities that Joshua just spoke to. Now, the other thing that we will email to you, so we don't overwhelm you right now in the chat with links, but the other thing we will email you is a link to all of Kroger's job opportunities online. So I saw a lot of people asking in the comments, are there IT positions and tech positions and HR positions and specific positions? Short answer is yes, but we will send you a link to the latest and greatest opportunities so that you can apply and then follow up with the Kroger team. All right, so with that being said, if everyone wants to turn on their video so we can get a screenshot of your smiling faces, let's do a quick group screenshot real fast. So let me remove myself from the feed. All right, so let's see. All right, so if you're in a place where you can turn your video on, I invite you to do so. Let's get a quick smiling faces of the folks that are here. I appreciate it. Good to see you all, and I thank you all for coming. Like I said, if you all don't come to these events, we can't have these events. So the fact that you all show up and are here to learn and take advantage of these opportunities for your future, I thank you. And on behalf of those that come behind you, I want to thank you again. All right, so for those of you that have your video on, we're going to do a 3, 2, 1, say cheese. All right, so go ahead and kick that video on. 3. Luis, are you ready?
Yes.
All right, 3, 2, 1, cheese.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you. So thanks everyone. Definitely take advantage of these opportunities. Look out for our follow-up email communication with the links. And again, thanks to the Kroger team for taking the time out. We appreciate you and have a good evening.
Thank you.